Gentlemen!
Silent mode.
Hello everybody, to my extended family worldwide, whether you're watching live or on the replay, thank you once again for joining me. And this is your host, Drew, also known as Silent Mode, Artist and LEGO Enthusiast. We're going to get right into it today. We are building this set right here. I'm not sure if you can, well, you won't be able to see it properly. This is a genuine copy of 40478 Mini Disney Castle. And as I mentioned in the description, I'm not a fan of Disney at all. I did grow up watching Disney cartoons and Disney movies and things, but I'm not a Disney fan. This one is dedicated to a good friend all the way down under who mentions that they like castles. And there aren't that many castle themed sets these days, so I thought I'd oblige by building this one. And this is actually a rather interesting build. I've seen pictures of it. And yeah, I thought it was a nice little build. Looks like it's got some rather nice details in it. So okay, just give me a second. Something has gone on here. I guess it's today's technical difficulty. I have a 3D print going on right next to me, and it seems to have stalled for some reason. I don't know what's happened. Anyway, I don't think there's anything I can do, unfortunately, so let's continue anyway. I've already unboxed it, as you can see, and it's divided into 4 sections. Completely forgot what I was going to say. Oh yes, before I forget, we're also recording a time lapse for, oh crap, more than one technical difficulty today. After all the trouble setting up this GoPro, I have forgotten to put an SD card in. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. We just had to put a memory card in the GoPro, and it sounds like my 3D print has resumed. Not sure what happened there, but let's get started. I've already unboxed, as you can see, and we're going to begin with bag number 1, which is this beauty right here. So yes, I just remembered what I was going to say. I actually wasn't in the mood to do a live stream today. I had originally planned it for Thursday, just something different, but I felt ill on Thursday. Had plenty of things to do, still have plenty of things to do, but I thought, just for the sake of being consistent, why not? Still trying to figure out the best time to do live streams. I know Friday has a lot of competition from bigger YouTube channels, and then Saturday people are going to be out. But ultimately, one thing I realize is that if you're liked enough, if you're popular enough, it doesn't really matter when you do a live stream. It could be at 3 in the morning for all anybody cares. People will watch. If not live, then they'll watch the replay. So right now, and I'm struggling for space at the moment because, as you can hear, I've got a 3D print going. We're building the base of this castle. I can immediately see there's a few nice parts in this set. But we're going to get this done as quickly as possible, but look how thick the instructions are. We're going to get this done as quickly as possible because I have plenty to do, not just before the end of this weekend, but before the end of the year. I'm very excited to mention that I got at least a couple of mocks planned for Christmas. That's adding to my seasonal activities. So I've got a couple of Christmas mocks designs that I'm just looking for parts for at the moment. There may even be a third, a very ambitious third. Hopefully you guys have seen my Halloween efforts. In terms of YouTube views, they haven't done very well, but they are up on the channel. If you want to go take a look, just have a look in the playlist. So I guess it's an annual tradition of doing an Easter, Halloween, and Christmas, obviously Christmas mock. And these are things I still enjoy doing. So they've given us a whole bunch of parts to put in this step, but I guess there's a lot of intricate build techniques to put in this. But we will get there. We will always get there. So we've got some triangle tiles, which has started to make its way into a bunch of sets. No doubt anybody who's been paying attention to the release of new parts will have seen people using a whole bunch of them to tile floors, etc, etc. I've made some use of them. I've actually got a mock that uses them, but you haven't seen it yet. I've yet to put out the video. As a matter of fact, one thing I had thought of is, this goes on this way. One thing I had thought of is just spending the next couple of months putting together videos of things that I've completed but haven't yet released in video form. Because this year especially has been spent making a lot of things, or attempting to make a lot of things, but I haven't actually put out that many videos. The shorts don't count, by the way. But yeah, this year, as you've probably heard already, has been about getting back on my feet and getting into the spirit of building again. And for the most part, I think I've done that. There's been a lot of things to balance. There's been a lot of things I've wanted to do, and it's not been the most productive year, but it's been a creative year, I'll say. So it looks like we are putting the last bits of the base, and this middle section quite flimsy. But that won't be a problem because it's all flat underneath. By the way, I'm using my webcam mic this time. I've more or less ran out of ports, so I can't use my usual broadcasting microphone. But yes, a very busy weekend this weekend. As you can hear, I've got the 3D printer going. I'm actually printing a gift for someone. Some of you know I regularly take part in Reddit gifts exchanges, and this one in particular is a trick or treat gift. Actually, it's, well, in case the person who is going to be receiving the gift is listening, I won't mention what it is, but it won't come as any surprise to anybody who watches my channel. But sadly, this well, one of my printers is out, the one that's usually in the other room. It's under repair at the moment, and so I have to use this one, which is where I do my live streaming right now. and the print is, well, it says the print is going to take just over 2 days, which is a surprisingly long time. I don't recall it taking that long before. But yes, it's so just a second. Just a second, I have to make an adjustment somewhere. I'll just put this down there. I won't put you guys on hold because this shouldn't take very long. I just have to make an adjustment to my camera. There we go. Yeah, for some reason, when I've been recording time lapses using my DSLR camera, the camera shuts off for some reason. I think it's something to do with the USB ports. I seem to be missing a tile. Have you guys seen it? Well, probably not. Yeah, I seem to be missing a 1x2 white tile here. And as it turns out, oh, there it is. As it turns out, though, I've managed to get a few on the, or in pick-a-brick walls, or pick-and-build walls. So it wouldn't have been a problem. I would have just gone and found one. Right, so we are stabilizing the base using these white plates. It's nice and solid now. And let's see, this goes here. But yes, I've done a lot of 3D printing this year. Some of you may have seen a couple of shorts I did a while ago about enlarged Lego pieces, enlarged Lego utensils. I've got a few more of those coming up if you enjoyed them. They seem to have done okay. But yeah, it's just an idea I had, that I had some old filament that I had to use, and I was inspired, as I mentioned before, by something I saw at the London Brick Festival. And I think it's a pretty good idea, especially in terms of the photography. Anyhow, I have no idea how long this is going to take as a build, but I'm trying to get this done as quickly as possible because I have a full weekend. One of the most exciting things for me is when I've designed a new model and I'm trying to find all the parts for it. It's a long process because I have to go through my entire collection. Some of it is in here, some of it is in the storage units, but I actually like that bit because there's the anticipation of, you know, finding out how my build is going to turn out. Hello there, Terry, in the chat. I am doing okay, just recovering from a slight illness, but it was important to do this live stream just to keep everybody informed and up to date. How are you doing? And thank you for joining me, by the way. But yes, the anticipation of excuse me, the anticipation of building a new mock always excites me, and it's something that I should do a lot more often, especially as someone who wants to be an artist as well as a Lego enthusiast. Oh, look at this. We got Cinderella's glass slippers. How do I know they're Cinderella's glass slippers? Well, they have to be, I guess, because, you know, Disney, Cinderella. Anyhow, I guess one thing we should get out the way is this Mickey Mouse minifigure. I don't know if it's exclusive to this set. I know there's one in the larger Disney castle. There's obviously a couple in the collectible minifigures series. But when it comes to Disney, It's purely one for the collection. Good to hear, Terry. Good to hear that you're doing all right. And I appreciate you. Can't even speak now. I appreciate you joining me once again. Let's see. We've got some black trophy figures. I went crazy over these. I had thought about collecting a few of them in different colors, but to be absolutely honest, I don't use them that much. And I think just having them to display would be a waste. Although, speaking of which, if you've seen on Instagram, you'll see that I've started collecting the video beat bits. Now, because I bought a whole bunch of the figures and I bought all of the Series 1 sets when they were discounted, I've got most of them already, and I've placed a couple of orders for the remaining ones. There were some that I'd actually sold to others. Excuse me. No problem, Terry. I like doing them. The pick a brick updates. Yeah, I bought all the Series 1 sets when they were discounted, so I had a lot of the parts, I had all the figures. I did sell some of the exclusive beat bits though, so it's a case of getting them back. You know, thinking about that, Terry, I did particularly enjoy this idea of going to one of the stores outside of London during the weekends, which is when I filmed them. So last week I went to Blue Water for the first time in 4 years, I think it was. And then the previous weekend I went to Watford. Both very interesting journeys, I will say. Blue Water... Oh. Good call. Yes, when I went to Blue Water, it took me... Well, it was the first time I went by bus. I took a bus from Woolwich, and it took about 1.5 hours to get there. And then Watford, it was an interesting journey because of train delays and things. But they were both places that I wanted to go to because I hadn't been there for quite a while. Let's see if I can angle it down a little bit more. I think that's good. Yeah, they were both places I wanted to go to for a while, just never had the time. And I finally got to do so. But by the way, check out the Leicester Square store because there was a particularly interesting piece that ended up on their wall. And I'm surprised there hasn't been much more of a fuss made about it. Maybe I'm behind the times. Maybe I've missed something, but I was quite excited for that piece. It's something that I find particularly useful. But each to their own. Right. I think we're caught up here. Yep. And speaking of live streaming, actually, the thought had come to mind that I should probably get myself a dedicated spot for doing these live streams. And there is the possibility, as far as I know. But, you know, it's all about weighing up the costs versus whether it would make sense to do so. Look at that, there's a cheeky reference to the bigger Disney Castle sets, which I think is still available at the moment, so I'm not entirely sure. Yep. I think that goes a bit forward there. Okay. It would be great to have a... What was the elements? Oh. Well, Okay, I may as well mention it. It was one of the newer 1x2x2 snot bricks. Sorry, not 1x2x2. It's 1x2 by 1 2/3, I think it is, and that was in tan or brick yellow. So as you can imagine, I got quite a few of those, but I did leave some for other people. One of the policies of the pab crawler videos, by the way, is that it's strictly for reporting what's on the walls at any given time, and it's with the, I guess it's with the promise, you could say, that there will still be some after I've left. So I'm not into the scalping business, I'm not into taking everything. So there will be, whatever you see in the videos, there should be some left in the store, but then that depends on the behavior of other people, I guess. But yeah, definitely, it was definitely a worthwhile visit. And the Leicester Square store is worth paying attention to, because it may be the most touristy of the LEGO stores in the UK, but they have some decent parts sometimes. Now, funny enough, this set doesn't come with a brick separator, so it's good old fingers. There we go. And this is probably a set you don't want. Excuse me. This is probably a set you don't want to make mistakes on, because there's a lot of small parts, there's a lot of detailed build techniques here. So this is part one, this is bag one, and we have these parts as spares. So let's see, we want to keep them all together. Let's see if we can find a container. I've got some Ziploc bags here, so I'll just put these in here. Yeah, definitely, and that's the aim of the pab crawler videos, to potentially save somebody a journey to a LEGO store. And it's definitely worth keeping an eye on some of these stores, because even though the parts are quite similar these days, I've found that many of the stores have that one elusive part. Have I noticed a pattern in different stores of bricks appearing on the wall? Have I noticed a pattern? Well, from what I've heard, it seems the stores in the middle of the UK seem to get the best parts first. And by the best, I mean the more unusual parts that may be more useful. And then they tend to filter down to London, which is where most of my action is. So Birmingham has been on fire recently in terms of the really good parts, and then some of those parts are often seen in the London stores eventually. But I can't speak for the rest of the country, because I haven't been to other parts of the country since my trip to Edinburgh back in June, actually. And it would be really good to go. It would be really good to be able to go back to Europe. I miss going to Denmark. I am absolutely miffed that I'll be missing the Lego House Christmas party this year. And that was, apart from flight restrictions, it was mainly because I completely forgot to look it up, and nobody told me. Anyway, I went way off tangent there. I think it's more or less the same pattern as before, though, that there's a lot of stores with the same parts in general, but each store seems to have one or two more or less unique parts. see. There's another one of these parts. This is, for me, this is a rather unusual part, and it's being put to good use here. I'm not sure what the significance of them is yet. It may have something to do with the sides of the castle. I'm not entirely sure. Is there anything else? Just paying attention to these instructions here, I can't really see anything else to put. So we've added that. We've got these two, this brick here, those two bits. Let's see. I'm pretty sure it will catch up with me if I've missed anything. Survey on LEGO VIP. LEGO digital subscription service. I haven't heard of that. I will take a look. I'll actually write it down before I forget. Without bragging though, if you've seen my VIP points balance, 50 points is not it's not much, but every little helps, I guess. LEGO VIP survey. Points. Alright, I appreciate you letting me know though. But yes, as with the Christmas party, I've not been in the loop with regards to a lot of what's been going on in LEGO, and I actually prefer it that way, to be absolutely honest. One of the things I really disliked was that you got these people who were starved for attention and didn't really contribute anything. They like to post leaks in various places, and you know what, if people like leaks, they should be able to indulge in them. And shout out to Bricksets, because yeah, there are people who post leaks on that site, but it's contained in one particular forum thread. But I actually had to leave a Discord channel because somebody decided they're going to post a leak for everybody to see, and I really, really don't like that. Hello, Opium Overlords. Now, if you guys are curious as to who this is for, who this live stream is dedicated to, that is the guy right there. Yeah, thank you for joining me though. Hopefully this is to your satisfaction. 31p. What's 31p? So we're building 5 of these at the moment. Let's see. There's 4. And we've got one more to find. There we go, 5. And then we want the remaining piece. There we go, 5 of these. And where do these fit? There's 1 here. There are 2 at the back, and then 2 on this side. Cool. And then I should really be more organized when it comes to these things, but oh well. Okay, are you saying 50 VIP points is worth 31 pence? Let's see, okay. really got to keep my eyes open with regard to where these parts are placed. But you can see one thing, I don't know if this is a new thing, but you can see that the where the new parts are placed, you've got these red outlines. I think Lego borrowed that from a competitor, to be honest, because I don't recall them doing that. Well, this is the Disney castle. I don't know if this actually counts as a castle, but it's I picked this one because it was available, and I thought it was a pretty good build. Lots of detailed bits, although it does make the instructions interesting. Just trying to follow where all the, even with these outlines, just trying to follow where all the different parts are placed. But yes, without complaining too much, this is the first year since their conception that I won't be going to the Lego House Christmas party. And it's a shame, but it's probably for the best. To make up for it though, I will probably... Okay, this is ridiculous. They're expecting me to put these two arm pieces in here. Wouldn't it have been better to put these arm pieces before starting the second bag? So I've got to go all the way in here, all the way in this part here, and put them in. My fingers are, well, just small enough to get in there. You also want to make sure they're the right way round as well. Okay. But yes, to make up for not going to the Lego house this year, I'm thinking of maybe venturing further afield and visiting one of the other stores. I'm not sure about Scotland because they, or Scotland or Wales, because they'd introduced those draconian measures. I've already been to Birmingham. Manchester, I like Manchester, but the last time I went wasn't great. So I'll have a think about that. I'll have a think about which of the Lego stores I'd like to visit. Who knows, I may even be able to travel into Europe. That'll be great. I will say though that me not being a Disney fan, I would have preferred to build one of those old school castle sets. I don't think there's, I don't know, I don't think there are any. I don't think there are any others. I suppose Harry Potter maybe, but I'm not a Harry Potter fan. I've never read any of the books or watched any of the movies. So that would have been a little bit of a stretch. I think it was Camel Boy a while ago who put forward the idea of maybe having a live stream where I build something that I don't like. I think that would be an interesting. I think that would be an interesting concept. Okay, so just so you guys know, this is what the finished article is going to look like. Oops. Just a little diversion there. A mini, oh yes, the famous yellow castle. I didn't know there was a I don't recall there being a gift with purchase version. I must have missed it. Okay, now what are we building here? I've no idea what that is, but we've got a miniature build here. We just put these together. Now, this part here, this 1x1 brackets, that's a very useful piece. And they've got the upward and downward versions. Now, unfortunately, they don't have it in LEGO Digital Designer, which I still use. But I have made use of those parts from time to time. I just have to remember to include them. And I'm slowly building a collection of them. This bit, I gather it's useful for building angled parts. I've never really used them. I've never actually used them. I've seen them used in official sets, but I've never really felt the need. Okay, so this bit attaches to these clips here. Now, how am I going to get them in? Very carefully. And that is one way to get these angled walls. I think that's rather clever. And so I guess the next parts are going to be more or less the same, just building them in reverse perhaps. Yeah, pretty much building them in reverse, I think. Okay. Okay, it's not quite the same. We don't have another double cheese slope, but we do have this jumper plates. And another one of these. We have to build 2 of them. Okay, it tells us at the last minute. So here we go again. Let's do it from memory. We've got this and this one. At the moment, I am thinking of whether to go to Shepherd's Bush to check out what's on the Pick-a-Brick wall, because I haven't been there. And usually when I do Leicester Square and I do Stratford, I basically get the other ones out the way. But I have been buying quite a few bricks recently, and I should be doing more selling, to be absolutely honest. I haven't even listed the previous builds for sale, which is pretty bad of me. I'm not sure whether it would be more effective doing it closer to Christmas time. So in these jumper plates, we're going to put these parts. Some people call them nipples. I have no idea what else they're going to be referred to. You know what, Opium Overlords, just have me on in the backgrounds. Don't please pay attention to cooking. I know it's I know you're all the way in Australia. It's going to be very early over there, and I didn't expect you to be here, but I appreciate it. But please don't risk your life watching my live stream. Alright, so we have another small build here, and I think this is going to be this missing wall section. Okay, that goes here. Now we've got this rather unusual curved piece here, and that sits right in here. I don't know how I feel about these specialized parts, to be honest. On the one hand, there's more parts to collect, and it's a headache trying to remember that there are such parts available. On the other hand, I do realize these parts make building certain models a lot simpler. For example, there was one scary masketeer, one in particular that I wanted to build for a while, and it was made more difficult because the parts that I used to build it didn't exist at the time. I think that's how it goes. It's not quite clear from this diagram. Anyway, let's persevere. I think that's correct. So I do welcome some of these newer parts. I'm more enthusiastic about existing parts in new colors, however, because for me personally, they improve the ability to build things. And I've noticed that some parts, I've noticed that some parts that used to be rare, they're more commonplace now, which is great. So have I changed brick how countries are shipped to because of Brexit? I haven't actually. I haven't, but I have noticed that I get very few orders outside of the UK now. And I guess understandably, because there's potential import charges on everything, and of course that some of the sites, I think certainly Bricklink does, but Brickhow I think may charge VAT on orders to other countries. So this is it. This interesting construction. I think this is going to be the final wall that plugs into here. Not too hard to put in. I think that's correct. Yep, that's correct. And these are the spare parts from bag 2. We'll put them in here. So yes, the vast majority, even last year, the vast majority of orders I get in my stores are UK to UK, but I've had maybe, I don't know, less than 10, I would say, to other countries. Recently I've had one to Australia, which is it's very nice. It's rather brave, but very nice. So we've got 2 bag 3s, and I think they're pointing to this larger one first. What I'm really concerned about in terms of Brexit, and I'm not going to say what my opinions are of Brexit out of safety, but my only concern would be what would happen if I was able to go to Billund, back to the Lego house, and in particular the second-hand shop that I liked going to, and I ended up buying a whole bunch of things. Would I have to declare them at the airport, and how much would it cost me? So I wouldn't be able to make those weekend runs that I liked doing. But let's not get into that, because that could easily go left. We seem to be missing a 1x2, and no we aren't. It's in this bag. There we go. But yeah, really, as you guys may have gathered, I really want to go back to the Lego house just to see what's different there. I must have gone, I don't know, since the Lego house opened, I must have been to Billund about 10 different times. I know I have 8 of the Lego house cards at least. Not bragging or anything, but basically I liked making the journey. I like flying, I like traveling, and that's the one thing I miss the most. Just being able to fly to mainland Europe. And I did have plans of going maybe further afield actually before this happens. Ah. Okay. Yes, while you guys are here actually, and for anybody who's listening, I had been thinking about a video to end the year on, and I got a few ideas. I may actually put it to a vote, but I wanted to produce a video to mark the end of this year, my first year as an indie, I suppose. And I got a few ideas. One of the ideas I've actually written them down somewhere. I can't remember exactly what all of them were. But one of the ideas was putting out a previously unreleased either mock or mod video, or something I did this year. Yeah, I'd have to get the list. I can't remember any of them, any of the others. But I'll put it to votes, and yeah, whichever one gets the votes or gets the winning votes, I'll put out probably on New Year's Eve or somewhere around that time. This is an interesting part. This 1x1 by 1x2, whatever you call it, brackets. I've never seen this before, and it seems to be purely decorative in the set. But yes, one thing you may have gathered is that I've started to do these traditions. So there's an Easter video, there's an Easter mock, there's a Halloween mock, there's going to be a Christmas mock, or in this case, maybe up to 3. And then I guess December the 13th, which was when I released the No Longer an AFOL video, that's probably going to be an anniversary as well. I do have a video in mind, just going over how far I've come since I put out that video. So I'm not sure what I'm building here, but it's a mini build. So we have this so far. I think it's just another section of castle wall. Yes, and I should probably mention that for the first time this year, I'm taking part in Movember. Just trying to find this another one of these parts here. But yeah, I decided, and I've got a good head start, let's just say, that I'm taking part in Movember to hopefully raise some money for men's health issues and men's issues in general, in the UK at least. At some point, if I'm serious about it, I should put out some kind of press release or video, hopefully to encourage people to donate or to help raise money. But it would be good to, I guess, collaborate in some way with anybody else in the LEGO community also doing something for Movember. I admittedly haven't paid much attention to social media, but let me know if there is anybody who is doing something similar, so I can reach out to them. I suppose if I was serious enough, I'd be doing the reaching out, but I've just got so much on at the moment, and I think at the moment it's probably better if I join in with what somebody else is doing rather than somebody joining in with what I'm doing. So one thing to notice with this set, which I'm quite pleased about, is that there doesn't seem to be any stickers. I think stickers would ruin this set. But then you have a couple of printed elements hidden right inside this castle, which I think is a shame, because if this was a display piece, then how many people would want to take it apart just to see the glass slippers and the printed tile? Okay, so got a mini castle part of set 40290. Gift for purchase. I'm just gonna have a very quick look. Okay, 60 Years of the Brick. I think I have that set actually. Yes, yes I do. It's one of the I believe it was one of the sets I had that was it was one of the sets I had that could have been a build for the live stream. And I think I still got it somewhere. Okay, so it wasn't. I was thinking the Yellow Castle was its own set. So the camera's gone again. Actually, it's quite hot, so I will plug it in. Sorry, just a second. I have to get some more USB ports. There we go. Alright. Back to building. But yes, as you guys may recall, I did a lot of weekend build sets last year. And in terms of views, they didn't do very well. They were mainly just so I dealt with the backlog of sets that I have, and also to provide content for people who are stuck at home. And I may do some more of those in the future, but they're not a priority at the moment. I do think getting rid of a lot of the stuff that I have, whether it's selling or donating, is going to be a priority. Yeah, it's a shame, but you know, there's always next year. And fortunately, I'm in a position to where, since I can't go to the Lego house this year, I can find something else to do. But yeah, there's less than 2 months before the end of the year, so I've got to decide quickly. If I do come up with something, it's going to be a very nice surprise. So yes, one thing I have been working on quite feverishly this year is my website. For those who don't know, I'm building a custom solution for my website, and the website is important because I can showcase what I'm creating. I can also write articles and potentially host competitions and things without being restricted by other people. One of the problems I think quite a few people face is that they want to promote themselves, but you have these moderators who don't like competition. They don't like people. Well, I would say they don't like certain people promoting themselves, so they like to accuse people of spamming. And so having my own website will prevent that, and then it will be up to me to get the word out and make sure that my content is available. But we'll see how well that goes. So we have this piece here that I've built. I think it may be because these jumper plates are used elsewhere in the build, but I think it's strange how they use this to put this on top of. So it's quite a loose connection, but it works, I guess. So Terry, you think the UK will be back in lockdown? I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest. I don't think it's going to happen, and to be absolutely honest, I think even if they did, not very many people would take notice, because hey, as the narrative has gone, they initially said it was 2-3 weeks to, in quotes, flatten the curve, which turned into 18 months. And now that people have been let out their cages, they're not going to go back in willingly. This is quite a nice little build here. So you've got the relatively new pyramid tile. You've got this this piece here, and then you've got the small brackets, and that sits here. Just there. I think where people would be affected, however, is if the shops had to close, and so I guess people would just have to buy online, and online sales would spike, which would then result in more shops or high street shops closing, which would free up the land for other things. But let's not go into that. This isn't that kind of channel. But yeah, seriously, I don't think the UK will go back into lockdown. And I've heard in Australia, in certain parts of Australia, they've had some rather bad lockdown measures in place. I think I don't think, especially over here, they go back to that. It's definitely good to have my own setup, because yes, one of the reasons I decided to go indie was because there were a few things that were inherent to other communities that I didn't agree with. I don't mind so much the competition, as long as it's friendly competition, because you know, with that kind of competition, everybody benefits, and it's the idea behind it is that things improve, things get better for everybody. I'm not into the divisive stuff that happens sometimes, and again, there's certain things that happen very commonly that I don't agree with. So at the very least, if I have my own setup, then it will hopefully attract people who think in similar ways. Okay, Terry, I didn't see what you wrote there, but that's okay. I'm busy building. All right, so what do we have here? We have these. This is pearl gold. I guess is what Lego commonly uses for gold these days. I actually miss the more metallic stuff that we used to use, but I guess it's more cost effective for Lego to use this gold as opposed to the others. Oops. So we have this, and that sticks to this side of the castle. That's good news. That's good news, Opium Overlords. Or at least I hope it's good news. And that's actually quite a young premiere. Usually people in these roles are in their, I don't know, 50s, 40s. But they're generally older people. So I think that's a good thing. Okay, so this wraps around and will attach as so to this bit here. That's quite clever. That's quite nice. See, quite a few, I recognize quite a few good building techniques in this set. So I was interested to see how they all fit together. Let's see, there should be another ingot somewhere. So yes, another common part in pick and brick walls or pick and build walls is this ingots. I've seen them in brick yellow or tan. Again, I've gotten quite a few of those. Oh. Okay, so we turn this around and we stick this here. And that folds over like so. That's also pretty clever. Alright, so we are coming up to the top of the castle. There's plenty more to add to this. And there's another one of those brackets somewhere. There it is. Turn it around this way to avoid confusing ourselves, and add this here, and then these two plates going there. Take these two bits, sits here. Got this window piece with this this iridescent window piece here. It's quite a nice effect. I guess it adds to the magic theme of the castle. And then got these relatively new candle pieces. We've got to build two of these. Now, my first thought was that this is actually an illegal build technique as defined by LEGO, because you have something going in this stud and then the stud going inside something else. I think we're good though, because this material is more of a rubber, you know, child safety and all that, so it's not going to cause as much stress, if any stress, on the parts. So I think that's fine, and it shouldn't have made it into the final build or the final model if it was illegal. So we've got this, which is a one of the windows of the castle, and that is going to sit on top of these jumper plates here, and then it fits onto the studs underneath. That's cool. Yes, that's one of the things that attracted me to the set, that it's a small build, so there's potentially room for it in my setup. There's a lot of parts, a lot of small parts, and there's very interesting building techniques. And yeah, it's Disney, but you know, I was curious to see how it was put together. Say what I like about LEGO, their practices, etc., but one thing I've come to appreciate is the amount of work and expertise that goes into building these sets or designing these sets. And this isn't something you can just pop into the offices and do. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes and that goes into these things. It's a very different world being a designer who does this for a living, and somebody who occasionally builds intricate models. That's one thing. Well, it's one thing I learned from the inside tour, and I'll credit the inside tour for changing my approach a lot to LEGO. You know, having met some of the designers, some of the people who work with LEGO or in LEGO, and getting a glimpse into their everyday life, it gave me a new appreciation for what they actually do. Thank you very much for joining me, Opium Overlords. It was good to see you. Have a good one. Alright, so we got one more bag after, well, a couple more bags after this, step 4. And we are almost done, I think, with this one. But yes, one thing I can definitely do when my new site is up and running is host polls more easily. So if I have a burning question and enough people visit the sites, I can host them there, as opposed to having the very limited options available on YouTube. I think with YouTube I can have a maximum of 4 options And one good thing to add to a poll would be pictures. So I'd be in control of that once I have the site up and running. But bits of it are ready at the moment. There's still a lot to do. And let's not forget that I'm still working on SwapBig. It's still going. There's a lot to do. But at the same time, I'm never bored. I'm never short of things to do, which is how I prefer things. Alright. This is looking very good. Alright, and oh, wait a minute, we have all these parts here. Did I miss something? Yes, I missed a page. Okay. So we've got the first of these tower roofs here that sits up there. We have a couple of these spires, I think they're called, to build. And this looks like a glittery blue color for the cones. Not sure if you can see it there. That's all. It's dropped a piece. Yes, in recent years, LEGO has put out these glittery colors, and I'm not really a fan of them, to be honest, but I can see why they did it, and I guess it adds to the appeal somewhat. You know, it's a little bit of variety, I suppose. Okay, so let's see, we've got a few spare parts here, and I'm pretty sure from the selection that I may have missed a few things. Yes, actually, Terry, one of the first things I did was add an RSS feed to the site. So there's an RSS feed right now for weblog posts. I'm actually working on mocks at the moment, so there'll be one for mocks as well. I wasn't even aware anybody still used RSS, but this is all about search engine optimization, making sure that people who are potentially interested in the content get to see the content. So I'm covering all my bases. So here's where we stand with the castle at the moment, and we have one more set of bags to go. And I gotta say, for a set like this, it's great that they have the red outlines to show where the new parts go. It makes things a lot easier. Now then, one thing you guys may be interested in is, and I don't know if you heard of it already, but there's a place in North London called the Toy Project. I paid a visit there. There's an actual shop there, and I paid a visit to it. Somebody recommended it to me. They have all kinds of toys there, but they also have a whole bunch of Lego. And basically what the Toy Project is, as I found out, is it's essentially a charity that donates toys to families that can't afford them. And so I think, as a goodwill gesture, because I had such a good time there when I went, I'm going to donate this this mini castle to them. I mean, I guess in a selfish way, it would be the easiest way to get rid of this thing. Even though I like the builds, it is Disney at the end of the day. But I'm all about things going to a good home. So if somebody else will get more enjoyment out of these things than I would, then I think that's the best situation. I did pay full price for this set because I did want to build it for this live stream. But hopefully there'll be somebody who will gain some enjoyment out of this. Alright, so this is interesting. We've got these two builds here. I guess they serve as the portcullis of this castles because they fit right in here. Look at that. That's rather clever. Yes, Archway, that's in North London. So yeah, it's called the Toy Project, and you can, yeah, basically if you go down the main roads from the tube station, you'll eventually come to it, and you can tell which one it is by the amount of Lego in the store window. If I didn't have so much to do today, I would probably have paid another visit, but it's a great place, and I think they're doing great things. And fun facts, I was even able to find some of the Sainsbury's collectible trading cards there. And using the power of SwapFig, although I did discover its limitations, I was able to find out which ones I was missing from my collection, and yeah, basically went through all the cards they had to get most of the ones I was missing. But yeah, it did make me realize that there were improvements to make over for the checklist feature. But yes, I'm way behind on SwapFig, unfortunately. I know I got a few minifigures to add to the site. Somebody was kind enough to donate some images as well. There's just so much to do. But there's only one of me, unfortunately. Or fortunately, depending on how you see things. Right, so we're building in this step the I guess what goes on at the front here. So I'm just trying to find all the parts. I'm building them as I go along. But yeah, seriously though, I am keen to do some fundraising for charity. So there's Movember. I don't know how successful that will be, but you know, men's health, men's issues is something very close to home. And there's also very much children, actually. Without going too much into it, I'm very much anti-bullying, which is why I support Kidscape. I do seriously think though that children these days have it much harder than anybody else has, because of what's going on. And so anything I can do to help them, no matter how small it is. Alright, so we built this part here, and we've got a printed shield part for the clock face. And there's a thought that sits right there. We've got some crowbars, some gold crowbars somewhere. Now, LEGO very cleverly used these as makeshift tile separators. in other sets, but here they're used for decoration, it seems. And these will fit onto these bits here. I never would have thought of using this as a connection, but indeed there it is. One of my thoughts on 3D printing real size Lego elements. I don't like that idea, to be honest. In general, I don't like that idea, but I will say, if we're talking about 3D printing custom Lego elements, such as, I think there was a set where, there was an official Lego set where they 3D printed a particular piece, or Lego themselves actually did 3D print a particular piece. I'd be fine with that, but in terms of replicating existing Lego elements in one-to-one scale, I'm not really a fan of that, because especially since there's a danger of such parts, especially low quality ones, entering the markets. Now if somebody wants to do it for their own use, that's fine. And then of course I got a project where I've resized existing Lego parts to 500%. Those kind of things are okay. But I guess I'm more in favor of doing it for personal use or artistic use than actually using those parts in sets or in things available to the public. So we've got 5 towers here that we're going to build, and I'm going to do them all at once just to save time. Let's see if we can get rid of these hairs though. Alright. So yes, though it has improved in recent years, the one thing to be concerned about with 3D printing is the quality. You can say, you know, just use resin printers, which give the best quality overall, but then you've got to be concerned about the chemicals used, whether they're actually safe for toys. Because after all, Lego is a child's toy at the end of the day, and we don't want anything dangerous. Well, I don't want anything dangerous being handled by kids. Discontinued elements. Okay, you got me there. Discontinued elements. I would argue in favor of it being a case of the person being creative. I suppose, well, I suppose it depends who's doing it. I mean, it depends who's doing it and why they're doing it, I suppose. I suppose if it was for being completionist, so if you had an old set where you couldn't get a replacement part, then I can understand it. But again, I think that would be more for private use. And then I guess there's the argument of if a lot of people have a particular set and they can't get a replacement part because it was poor quality or whatever, then yeah, I suppose it would make sense if a replica part was made available. But then, being a little bit selfish, I suppose, I would think, well, if I tried to do something like that, some people would accuse me of not being creative enough to do it with existing parts. So I guess in the end it's subjective, isn't it? Oops. I think personally, I have some 3D printers, as you can hear in the background, but I'm not at the stage to where I could replicate a discontinued part effectively. So I guess I'd be more inclined to, at first, try and see if I can get the part through BrickOwl or the other sites. And if not, then I'll probably try to find an alternative using existing elements, which wouldn't be as good, but there we go. Oh my gosh, I gotta build 5 of these. This is a bit of a nightmare, unfortunately. So I got to build 5 of these things. This would trip anybody up in a speed build challenge, that's for sure. But that's a very good question, though. But I suppose with 3D printing as well, there's the there's the issue of colors. So if you're a purist and you want something matching the color exactly, you may run into some trouble. Because I haven't seen anything so far with 3D printing in terms of the materials where the colors actually match Lego elements. I guess in that sense then you can tell that something was 3D printed. As I said though, if it's the case of those parts entering the market, if people are happy with knowing that they're 3D printed, then I suppose that's okay. You will always get somebody trying to pass 3D printed parts off as genuine. And I know this because we often see, or I've often seen people on the other sites claiming that a part is one color when it's actually another color. Anyway, enough yapping. Okay. Oh, I see. So, yeah. If you're looking that far back, then that's going to be a problem, I guess. There's a tough situation. Well, let me know how you eventually resolve that situation, if you do resolve it, because I think that would be interesting. I'd imagine that similar parts, or trying to find those parts from eBay or elsewhere, is going to be quite pricey. And then of course you run the risk of breaking those bits. Wow, so we built 5 of these bad boys, and just got to make sure we insert them the right way up. So yeah, they go on like this. My goodness. I suppose the situation with the parts gets even more complicated if you're a purist. So if you're looking for a specific part in especially a retired color, such as sand red, that would be even more of a challenge. Speaking of which, I'm glad they brought back sand blue. It's one of my favorite colors. Maybe in the future they'll bring back sand red or even sand purple, but I don't know. So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to ask the audience, what do you think of some of the newer LEGO colours? So there's a big fuss about dark turquoise, or what people are calling teal. You got yellowish green. You got even these glitter satin colours. What do you guys make of those? Whoops. I gotta say, teal is, or dark turquoise is growing on me very, very slightly. I just don't agree with it being so prolific, however. I don't think it makes any sense whatsoever to have so many different parts in this dark turquoise color. I'm actually not a fan of sea green or turquoise in general. But I guess it's a very similar thing to lime back in the day, back when instead of using regular green, LEGO for some reason decided to use lime for everything. This was around the time with the friend sets. Terry, that's incredibly brave. That's incredibly brave. But I guess there's different levels of purism, isn't there? So, for example, one thing that I've done this year, and I probably shouldn't mention this, but one thing I've done this year is I bought a bunch of different base plates from different companies. So I've got some of the Wilco ones, I've got a couple of different ones from Amazon, and an idea that I had was to, in quotes, review them to see how good they were. And I guess it goes back to something very ignorant and very, I can't think of the word is now, what the word is. Something that I heard or saw somebody wrote many years ago, that if you use non-Lego elements in a model, then you will never get featured. I don't know who the heck they were. I don't know what gave them the authority to say that, but I thought that was, yeah, arrogant. I think that's one of the most arrogant things I've heard. And that to me smacks of snobbery. So I thought, you know, why not give these other brands a go, see how good they are, because I'm pretty sure there are some not so great ones, but there are probably some good ones as well. Just that people won't buy them because they don't have the red square associated with them. So yeah, I've got some Wilco ones, I've got some ones I've ordered from Amazon, and eventually, once I find the time, I'll put together a video just showcasing them. I do think though with Wilco, however good they are, I think the base plates are going to be harder to come by, because I had a heck of a time trying to find some when I was making the big rebuild. That's another video I've yet to put out. I wanted to find a base plate for cutting, and I wanted the Wilco ones, but none of the stores I went to had them until about a month later. So yeah, I had to use a Lego base plate for that one. Why do I talk so much, eh? I don't usually talk this much. I will say though that the slightly sparkly color of these cones and these dishes, I think they add to the appeal of the sets. They look quite nice actually. So anyway, we've got 5 of these towers, and they will be placed around the castle. As such, we've got one there, one there, one right at the back here, and then the other 2 on this side. There's an idea for a Lego set if it hasn't been done already. St. Petersburg. I've not seen or heard of a St. Petersburg model, whether it's Lego Ideas or official, so somebody was probably going to get on the case for that. Yes, I would agree that there's definitely snobbery. But you know, one of my things, and one thing that puts me at odds with a lot of people in the Lego community is that there's a place for everything. You know, as you said, some people can't afford to buy these, you know, 100, 200, even more expensive sets. And one of the biggest forms of snobbery I've seen since I discovered the Lego community was this preference toward big models. Not everybody has the room. I certainly don't have the room to build them. And I'm not even a fan of big models, but they're the ones that seem to get the most attention. And I've seen on Flickr especially that it seems that the bigger a model is, the more people like it, and the more likely it is to win a competition. But yes, there's different levels of purism. There's different levels of snobbery. And again, though, I think everything has its place. You know, some people, I have to admit, I would have a hard time trying to build a model using a mix of Lego and third-party elements. But I do think I think it's cool to try and build something with third-party elements. I actually don't mind that so much. It's a different challenge, isn't it? Oh, and by the way, see how people change their tune when there's a third-party element that people like but they won't use because it's not Lego. Then Lego releases something similar, and then people are all over it. So what is the issue then? Is it that it's not a good part, or is it that it's just not Lego? Anyway, let's not rant and rave again. Okay, so we are almost at the end of this build. And apologies that it's gone on so long, but I actually quite enjoyed this. Let's see. Got just a few more parts to put together. There we go. How does that go? It goes here. And then finally, nope, we don't use the harpoon, we use the unicorn horn, or the drill bits, whichever you want to call it. And so, yep, as far as these bits go, I've missed that bit. They go at the back of the castle. As such. And then the piece de resistance goes here. This way. And there we have it. Oh. These are all the spare parts from bag 4. And these are all the spare parts in this set. There's quite a few of them actually, I guess because there's a lot of small parts here. But here we go. Here's just the camera. This is the mini Disney castle, and it is quite a good set. I don't like the fact that this bit is loose. It kind of takes away from the splendor, but look at this. I think it's really nice. It's very different to the kind of models that I'd like to build, that I usually build, but I think it's a very well put together set. It's very stable. There's no place for Mickey to stand, however, as you can see in this on this page. So Mickey comes completely separately to the castle. But this is very nice though. I'm not going to keep it, however. I'm going to donate this, as I said before, to the toy projects. Hopefully they'll appreciate it, but I like what they're doing, and it's also a good excuse to visit the store again and see what they have to offer. Alright, so that concludes this particular live stream. I want to thank everybody who joined me in the chat, as well as everybody watching on the replay. I really appreciate it, and I thank you guys for playing along once again. Until next time, this is Drew, also known as SilentMode. Take care.